Hi everyone, and welcome back to ACC Senior Services. My name is Danny Lee, and I am the Lifelong Learning and Wellness Program Manager here. And before we get started with our cooking demo today, I just wanted to bring to your attention next Tuesday, February 1st at 4 p.m., we have an amazing author named Kate Washington coming to speak to us. And she's a Sacramento native, and her book that she's going to be talking about is called Already Toast. And she has had this book talked about on big platforms like NPR, the New York Times, the Today Show, SF Chronicle, all over, and it's a must read. And she found herself becoming a caregiver to her really ill husband with cancer. And she talks about this revealing and eye-opening look in America at the abundance of unpaid family caregivers. So definitely tune in, and if you're interested, go to accsv.org/online to register today for that and our other presentations. And before I forget, we have to mention our amazing sponsors because without them, we couldn't be doing this production today. So I definitely want to thank Bruce Yoshida of Baird, Dr. Leland Lee, Russell and Myra Nakano, the Sierra Sacramento Valley Medical Society Alliance, the Sacramento Region Community Foundation. And please, if you are interested in sponsoring us as well, you can contact Jerry Shikuma at jshikuma@accsv.org. Now, I'm sorry for the wait, but we are all here for crepe making today. So I want to introduce our new Marketing and Development Director, Kala Haley Clark. Now, Kala has been working really closely with all of the programs here at ACC, including my own, and she's been working on grants and sponsorships, and so we are so grateful to have her here. And on top of that, she is a huge animal lover, so she sends me cat videos every now and then. So, without further ado, Kala Haley Clark.
What a warm welcome. Well, bonjour et bienvenue tout le monde. That would be French for hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Kala Haley Clark. I am the Marketing and Development Director here. And as Danny said, I'm a crepe maker. And here's the fun part, you can be a crepe maker too. I started learning the French language when I was about 5 years old. And I started learning cooking about 4 years after that. But despite my love of food and French, I was very intimidated by French cooking. It all seemed so precise and so unobtainable and intimidating. I found that I often found myself thinking that I needed a PhD level of expertise when it came to making French food. So imagine my embarrassment when in my 20s I decided to take a risk and look up some French recipes and found out that crepes are not only simple, they are easy and they are versatile. And this was great for me when I was in graduate school. They can be made on a very thin budget. Most of the things that you need for crepes are things that you would usually have in the fridge anyway, or in your pantry. Furthermore, the things that you can add to a crepe, whether sweet or savory, can be the simplest things in the world, the things that you always have around the kitchen. So before we get started, I'm going to show you all of the ingredients that we're going to use today. I'm going to walk you through the methods that we're going to use today, and then we're going to get right to it. So first, here is a list of everything that you will need today. 1 cup each flour and milk, 2 eggs, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of sugar. Pretty simple. That's all you need to make a delicious crepe. The best part is the method is very simple. You will need, I have a crepe pan, but you can use any non-stick. I prefer a shallow pan, something that you can easily get a spatula into. Also, if you don't use a spatula, I have many times flipped a crepe with just a butter knife. Honestly, you don't need fancy materials, so any nonstick pan that you have that you would use to make an omelet is going to work perfect for crepes. You will also need a blender, or if you don't have a blender, you can use a whisk. So I have a cup each of of milk and flour, 2 eggs. I have melted my butter, but I have also cooled it slightly. This is going to help to make sure that it's not too runny, but also the ingredients still mix together quite well. And then I have my sugar and my salt. Here's where a judgment call comes in. You don't necessarily have to add the sugar if you're making a savory crepe. Some people, for just lack of time or not really tasting a difference, will add the sugar anyway if they're going to make both sweet and savory, but that's something that you can decide for yourself. You will blend for 1 minute, and then you will pour just a little bit in over medium heat, kind of turn it around to make sure that it layers the entire bottom of the pan. You will wait until it's a nice, dry, crispy, light golden brown, flip it, let it cook on that side a little bit. Some people like to take the crepe off and add the fillings once they're done. I honestly like to do it on the pan because it just gives it that nice crispy feel to it, and it warms up the ingredients nicely. And then the best part of all, you get to eat it. So it looks like I have let my butter sit just a little bit too long, so I'm going to throw that into the microwave and tell you a little bit about just how versatile crepe making can be. I have my ingredients that I'm going to be using today for my sweet and savory crepes. I wanted to show just how versatile it can be and just how simple it is to make something out of the most basic ingredients. So I literally have some chopped up lunch meat. It's fantastic if you end up having just enough lunch meat for anything but a sandwich. I have my pre-cooked ingredients. I have some spinach and onions here. Really, if you have any leftover vegetables in your fridge from dinner the previous night, they would work great. I have some cheese. I have some delicious bananas. And I am a bit of a sugar fiend, so the dessert crepe that I'm going to be making today has Nutella, marshmallows, and bananas. But if you're in a bind and all you have is just the essentials, you can easily throw a little bit of honey onto your crepe, a little bit of lemon juice, that would be a crepes Suzette if I remember properly, or you can just add just a little bit of jam. I even brought in some jam so I can show you just quick and easy how to make the simplest of jam crepes. Sounds like our butter is ready to go. So let's get to it. Starting with the simplest part, throwing all of the ingredients right into the blender. First time I made crepes, this didn't go well. Why, you ask? Apparently, I didn't have this nice little lid on top of my blender lid, so it all went everywhere. Learn from my mistakes. There is no real need, since I'm teaching you the quick and easy and simple way to make crepes. There's no need to worry about which ingredients go in first. It's all fine here. Now, if you plan on making savory crepes and then sweet crepes, and you want to omit the sugar, go ahead and leave it out. I'm going to throw everything in all at once. I find that it doesn't make too big a difference. Sorry to all of you culinary masters out there. I learned this in grad school, and nothing is more a mother of invention than a student's budget. So we're just going to blend this for 1 minute. No reason to do anything fancy, just the stir. And pausing every now and then to scrape down the sides and make sure everything's playing nicely. It's going to end up being a thin batter. You want that because you want to make sure that it spreads nicely when it's time. And I'm going to start heating up my pan, so there's no need to wait. One more go for us. And just like that, crepe batter. Like I said, I was very intimidated by French cooking, but I have spent the better part of my childhood in the kitchen with either my mother or my grandmother, or even my great-grandmother, making some kind of batter, whether that's pancakes, whether that's dough for scones, which is one of the all-time best recipes that my grandmother taught me, or just making something that required some kind of delicious, carby, doughy goodness. I still regret that I spent so much of my life being intimidated by something that looks so fancy, but is so deceptively simple. And I'm very excited knowing what a crepe fiend Danny is. I'm very excited to share these with her when this is all done. Occasionally, if you want to really check to see if the heat is good, you can throw a little bit of water on top of your crepe pan to see how it's doing. Feels warm enough to me. You don't want this too warm, because then you're just going to roast the living daylights out of your crepe. As you can see, if you've got a nice room temperature batter, it's going to spread so nicely on top of the pan. And you can see here why it would be necessary to have a shorter kind of pan. But really, if you have a tall pan and that's what you have to work with, don't worry about it. I do recommend using the knife a little more than the spatula. If you have a tall edge, it can cause things to get a little bit clumsy. If I'm being honest, I have spent so much time doing crepes with my fingers that I have some pretty impressive burn calluses on them. But I want to show you the smart way, not the I'm a grad student with nothing to lose way. You can see that since we have a nice warm pan, it's starting to dry a little bit, and I can start slipping the knife underneath it. If you have a nice nonstick pan, this makes it super easy. Got it nice, and you can start to see that nice golden color. That tells me it's time to turn it over. Come on. And woo! All right. So like I said, one of my favorites when I was in graduate school was the I don't have enough lunch meat for a sandwich. So I'm going to throw a little bit on that there. And I love leftovers, but I have this horrible habit of not getting to them in time. So this was an excellent way to start making use of my leftover vegetables that were not going to be used for anything else, but still had nutritional use and were still good enough to be eaten. And for that little extra bit of deliciousness, we're going to throw in a little bit of cheese. Comme ça. Like I said, if you are a little intimidated by the heat, or if you have ingredients that you don't necessarily want to warm up alongside your crepe, you don't necessarily have to do it like this. However, I really like having a crepe where all of the ingredients are working together to make something delicious. And let's face it, for those of you who are like me, is there anything as good as melted cheese? There really isn't. This is one way to fold a crepe. Simple, elegant, and delicious. I have an order of crepes for Danny. That's you! Yes! You're welcome! So that's your savory crepe. I'll show a few other crepe folding methods, and it looks like my heat's getting a little too high. So I'm going to bring that down. If you start to find that your crepe pan is getting a little too hot, just add some water. Let that take some of the heat away. I actually learned this in organic chemistry class, and it's been very helpful for me ever since. All right, round two. It'll take not very long to figure out just how much batter you want to throw in. Again, the French method is very exact, and you'll find out if you've added too little. You can see that I have this lovely little starburst pattern at the edge, which, since I'm showing you the quick and easy way, I am going to fudge over, and it's going to be fine. C'est simple comme bonjour. That is French for it is simple like hello. It's their way of saying it's a piece of cake. All right. It's okay if you have a little bit of a discrepancy in your texture right here, it's still going to be delicious. All right. So let's do a simple jam crepe before we do my personal favorite, the banana Nutella marshmallow crepe. Really doesn't take that much jam. I thought it would take a lot more, and it just so happened that the only thing I had in the fridge the first time I tried a jam crepe was jam. I put way too much in, and I made myself sick. Again, learned from my mistakes. Another way to do a crepe, I would usually use this method if it was a lot fuller, but it's the four-corner method where you tuck everything in like I said tuck, like so. You can tuck the end, but I also think that this three-corner method is pretty cute. I'm just going to bring the plates over here. And just like that. Say you wake up one morning and you want breakfast, but you don't necessarily want to put in a lot of effort, or say you don't really have a whole lot of ingredients. Voila! Une crêpe aux préserves.
Oh, thank you. I ordered this too. Thank you.
How many crepes did you order?
Oh, I think 6.
6, got it. 6 crepes for Danny. Sorry to anybody else who was expecting to have some. All right. Now for the pièce de résistance, my all-time favorite crepe. This one is the crepe that all of my friends request when they come over if I'm making crepes. They will get angry if I don't have Nutella in the house. In fact, when people know that I'm making crepes, they will make sure to bring Nutella because this one is a showstopper. We're going to add banana, Nutella, and just a few marshmallows. I know it sounds insane, but I never claimed to be a moderate person. All right, this edge is looking just a little bit moist, but the rest is looking good. It takes a little bit of intuition and just watching your edges, seeing how things are going. Like I said, it's really in your hands, and you know best what you like. So if you end up liking a thicker crepe, you're going to put in more batter. If you like a thinner, crispier crepe, that's what you're going to do. There are no wrong answers, and no one gets to tell you what your tastes are, which is exactly why I'm making you my monstrous dessert crepe today. All right. Now, I mentioned moderation when it comes to jam. I don't have the same philosophy when it comes to Nutella. So forgive me. This is going to look like a diabetic's nightmare, but I am going to love it. Sorry, Danny, this one's mine. And get them right there. And this one I prefer to fold. Whoop. This one I prefer to fold a little bit more like an omelet, mostly because that gives all of the ingredients the chance to get warm on both sides. So I'm going to smash this down a little bit, let it percolate together. I really especially like it when the marshmallows have a chance to melt a little bit. Of course, that makes them expand and they make these very odd mushroom shapes, but who cares? It's delicious. All right, and you can see that this got a nice, slightly crispy underside to it. And feels just about ready to go. And there you have it. In what, 20 minutes? I've made 3 crepes, and I have enough to make a few more. I can use anything here in any combination, though I promise I will never do a Nutella and lunch meat crepe. That's just cruel. But it is really that easy. It is the opportunity to experiment and create, because let's say you get a crepe wrong and it turns out the complete opposite of what you were going for. You've got some more batter. You can try again. It is a wonderful opportunity to be creative and to be resourceful with what you have. So thank you so much for having me today. I hope you enjoy this recipe as much as I have. And I did mention my wonderful grandmother, André, who taught me French and also taught me to cook. I believe she is here today, and I would like to say to her, bonjour, je t'aime, which is hello, I love you. All right, how long can you keep the batter in the fridge? That's an excellent question. For the most part, I will usually do the batter fresh. I have not really attempted to keep the batter overnight. I believe you can keep it at least overnight, but you do want to give it about an hour at room temperature to make sure that it still flows. This is, of course, a mixture of flour, milk, and eggs, which means that in the refrigerator, it's going to become very hard and very difficult to move around. So at least overnight. I would love to hear any notes later about anything else. Can you share ingredients and quantity again? Of course I can. All right, we have 1 cup each of flour and milk, 2 eggs, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then when it comes to the proportions of your fillings and your ingredients as you go further, that's really up to you. Some people like a very packed crepe, some like it very smooth and delicate and thin. So that's really up to you. The next question is how many crepes will this recipe make? That depends on how thick you like your crepes. I would say about 6 to 8 is what you're going to get out of this particular recipe. And we will be sending out the recipe as soon as this is over. And yes, I agree, Julie. They do look excellent. I'm very excited. You're all very lucky that I'm not trying to talk while I'm eating this at the exact same time. No, oh, no, 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 no.
I ordered Nutella and marshmallow.
Danny the opportunist, everybody. Well, I hope you had as much fun today as I did. This has been a fantastic opportunity. I hope you'll have me again for another cooking demonstration. And I have to say that it has been fantastic the past 4 months that I've been with ACC Senior Services. I feel terribly welcome. Everybody is wonderful. And I really look forward to the day that I can make these in person and share them with all of you. So thank you so much to everybody watching. Thank you to all of our sponsors who made this possible. And of course, thank you to our Lifelong Learning and Wellness Program team who are working so hard to make these beautiful, beautiful demonstrations for you every month. Have a great day.